underlining everything she did. Now the ticking had given way to the ringing of alarm bells. "Hurry up, please. It's time." Jo shivered, even though she was wrapped in the puffy, purple winter coat all three of her daughters made fun of. Underneath, she wore one of her loose cotton tops and a pair of elastic-waisted jeans that had to be at least 15 years old, and sneakers on her feet. "I guess those are her dressy sneakers," Jo had overheard Lila say at the big 70th birthday party Kim had thrown a few years before. Her hair was short, the way she'd always worn it, pale gray because she'd stopped coloring it years ago, and she never wore makeup or much jewelry except for her wedding ring. She wondered what would happen if she let the phone thump to the blue and red carpet, what would happen if she started to scream, and found herself remembering the one actual scene she'd made years ago in a Blockbuster video store, when such places had still existed. All those years later, and she could still remember the exact sound she'd made, how her laughter had turned shrieky and wild, the smell of the teenage clerk's spearmint gum, and the feel of the girl's hand on her shoulder as the girl had said, "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." She remembered how Lila's shoulders had hunched up high beside the pale, skinny stalk of her neck, and how Melissa's voice had wobbled as she'd said, "We're going, okay? We're going right now." Time, she thought, as she gripped the phone in one numb hand. She needed time, as much as they could give her. Time to make sure that she'd done everything she could to make things right with her sister. Time to make Kim believe that she was a good mother. Time to convince Melissa that doing the right thing belatedly was better than never having done it at all. And Lila. Well, eternity might not be long enough to solve Lila's problems. But couldn't God at least give Jo long enough to make a start? She wanted to groan. She wanted to cry. She wanted to throw the phone at the colorful cardboard display of some superhero movie and the teenagers posing in front of it, snapping selfies, laughing and making faces for the camera as if they were all going to live forever. She felt her wife slip her small hand into Jo's and squeeze. Jo blinked back tears and thought, "Please, God, or whoever's up there, please just give me enough time to make it right." Part 1. 1950. Jo. The four Kaufmans stood at the curb in front of the new house on Alhambra Street, as if they were afraid to set foot on the lawn, even though Jo knew they could. The lawn belonged to them now, along with the house, with its red bricks and the white aluminum awning. Every part of it, the front door and the steps, the mailbox at the curb, the cherry tree in the backyard, and the maple tree by the driveway, the carport and the basement and the attic you could reach by a flight of stairs that you pulled down from the ceiling. All of it belonged to the Kaufmans. They were moving out of the bad part of Detroit, which Jo's parents said was crowded and unhealthy, full of bad germs and diseases and filling up with people who weren't like them. They were moving up in the world to this new neighborhood, to a house that would be all their own. "Oh, Ken," said Jo's mother as she squeezed his arm with her gloved hand. Her mother's name was Sarah, and she was just over 5 feet tall, with white skin that always looked a little suntanned, shiny brown hair that fell in curls to her shoulders, and a pursed, painted red mouth beneath her generous nose. Her round chin jutted forward, giving her a determined look, and there were grooves running from the corners of her nose to the edges of her lips. But that morning, her mouth was turned up at the corners, not scrunched up in a frown. She was happy and as close to beautiful as Jo had ever seen. Jo wrapped her arms around her mother's waist, feeling the stiffness underneath the starch of Sarah's best red dress, the one with a full skirt flaring out from her narrow waist and 3 big white buttons on either side of the bodice. A smart red hat with a black ribbon band sat on top of Sarah's curls. Her mother put her arm around Jo's shoulders and squeezed, and Jo felt like someone had pulled a blanket up to her chin, or like she was swimming in Lake Erie, where they went in the summertime, and had just paddled into a